Holla ballers, what's going on? We're doing some, wait for it. Oh yeah, Disco Resto Druid. Oh, get it on, baby. Gonna life bloom your ass. Best dance ever? I think so. I think so. We're doing the Resto Druid. A very, very, very powerful spec. Super powerful spec that got a lot of little modifications for Mists of Pandaria. So we're going to look at those today. We're going to look at how you should roll, and then I'm going to jump into a raid. Looking for Raid is out now, and raiding is a much better demonstration of some healing rather than a 5-man. Each has their own uses. I think for healing, a raid is much more beneficial for me to show you, so I'll be doing that. We're going to go over talents, we're going to go over gemming, we're going to go over reforging. I'm going to be looking at all the things you should be doing with your early Resto Druid, and having a generally good time with it. So let's rock and roll into it. We're obviously restoration. We're a healer. We keep people alive. That is our primary role, is to put out serious amounts of HPS, healing per second. We get rejuvenation. We get Life Bloom, we get Swift Mend. Swift Mend instantly heals that target of the rejuvenation with or regrowth effect for 41k. Not a tremendous amount. In addition, restores 4,692 health to the 3 most injured allies within 8 yards of the initial target. Note how stupidly cheap this is. 5k mana. Swift Mend is pretty damn awesome. It really is. And we get Healing Touch, heals a friendly target for 60k base and reduces the remaining cooldown of your Swift Main by 1 second. Healing Touch is super awesome as well. We also get some other spells like Regrowth and so on and so forth, but we'll get into those. Don't worry, we'll get into those. Let's take a look at the talents. These are the talents I recommend. You can obviously choose your own. It's okay. I'm going to talk about why I chose these. And I think we'll have some backwards and forwards in the comments, and people can pick whatever they prefer. Again, a lot of these are situational. You're going to want to change these on a boss-per-boss basis. That's entirely your choice. It's entirely your choice. If this boss calls for more of another type of talent, then that's your choice to do so. Level 15, we get some sort of movement increasing ability. Most people are just generally rolling with Feline Swiftness. It's a passive 15% movement speed increase. Every time we move, we have to stop casting our direct heals. We can still cast our hots, of course, as a Resto Druid, but we generally want to move, stop as fast as possible, and get back to doing our big roll, which is kicking out massive amounts of heals. That's generally what we want to be doing, and Feline Swiftness just passively increases that effect. A lot of raids, raid bosses and stuff in Mists of Pandaria require a lot of movement by healers, DPS, and so on and so forth, and therefore Feline Swiftness just cuts that down to the bare minimum you can do. There is definitely call for things like Displacer Beast, which is a teleport, a blink essentially, and activates Cat Form and Prowl, so you're going to want to instantly cancel that. That's no issue, but remember you can just do this 20-yard blink, 30-second cooldown. And we also have Wild Charge. Wild Charge is pretty cool, grants you different abilities, varies on your shapeshift form. So if we were bear, we can charge. Then cat form, we leap behind people. We can't do moonkin, obviously. If we're in travel form, we can leap forward again, get that blink effect, and we're obviously not going to be swimming too much in our raids, so we don't worry about aquatic form. I generally roll always with Feline Swiftness. I just love passive movement speed increase. It just wins most times, in my opinion. At level 30, we get some sort of cooldown. Scenario Ward is something that I recommended while you were leveling. If you haven't seen the leveling video, go and check that out if you're thinking of rolling your Druid. It protects a friendly target, causing any damage taken to heal that target for 15,000 every 2 seconds. For 6 seconds, gaining the healing effect consumes the Scenario Ward, usable in all shapeshift forms. So you get a shield, essentially. A shield with a hot, which is pretty fucking cool. Scenario Ward is pretty decent. It's a little bit expensive, I would say, at 10,000 mana. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. We also get Renewal. Instantly heals the Druid. So this is only usable on you for 30% of your maximum health. We're a Resto Druid. We want to heal other people. That's our role. A 2-minute cooldown like that? We're not really going to be rocking and rolling with that one. We're not really finding much use for that whatsoever. And good old Nature Swiftness. When activated, your next Cyclone, Roots, Healing Touch, Hibernate, Nourish, Rebirth, or Regrowth becomes instant, free, and castable in all forms. The healing and duration of the spell is increased by 50%, which means you can put out some huge healing with Nature Swiftness. The classic emergency. Holy crap moment. Lots of these going to be happening in your raids, be it LFR, be it normal mode, especially heroic mode. You're going to have these scary, scary moments, and you're going to get an extra buff to that healing with the 50% buff to it. And throwing out a huge Nature Swiftness Healing Touch is generally where you're going to want to use this bad boy. Is a big macro Nature Swiftness Healing Touch. Every 1 minute it's going to put out an immense heal. So it's Lay on Hands territory, baby. It's pretty awesome. The next one is entirely your choice. In raiding, and even in 5-mans, these are generally pretty crap. Fairy Swarm, movement speed decrease. Nobody likes that, especially not the tanks. Mass Entanglement, snaring things. And Typhoon, knocking things back. Typhoon obviously may come in handy in raiding. You want to keep an eye out for that. We look at bosses like Ragnaros Heroic. We certainly saw a huge need for Typhoon. So the fact that Resto Druids can now carry that as well is pretty awesome. Again, depends on the boss. Pack whatever you prefer. Level 60, we got some major cooldown, okay? We got Soul of the Forest, which is restoration. You gain 50% haste, and your next spell, when you cast Swiftmend, which is pretty awesome. We're going to be trying to keep Swiftmend pretty much on cooldown. We are really going to be trying to keep Swiftmend on cooldown, especially when there's any form of AoE damage going on. As I said, it's super cheap, nice big heal, and also it heals other people around it, which is pretty awesome. Force of Nature, you summon your Treants and they help you out with your healing on a 1-minute cooldown. A little bit random, it's a smart heal. Again, it's down to managing that. I really do prefer Incarnation. End of story. A 3-minute major cooldown. It grants a superior shapeshift form appropriate to your specialization for 30 seconds. You may freely shapeshift in and out of this form for the duration of Incarnation. What you do have to be careful of, is it off cooldown? It is. I used Incarnation at the beginning of the video, so I was thinking, I'm just zooming because it always looks awesome. It's one of the most cool things about the Resto Druid, is you can fire it off and you can deactivate it. However, be careful, because you want to keep popping in and out of it. Is very dangerous. If you're spamming that button like, holy shit, Incarnation, you can pop in and out of it super quickly, which is like a huge pain in the ass. But no, it is still counting down, so you are losing time while you're in Incarnation mode. And you can see it while we're in Incarnation, we get buffs, so we get like Wild Growth. Gets a huge extra amount of healing and heals more people. It's pretty cool. Life Bloom becomes spammable on all targets. And of course we get really, really awesome regrowths. Oh, it's just run out. Would you believe it? It's just run out. So you get some serious buffs there. Incarnation is when shit is hitting the fan. We need to get the raid up. There's even a couple of instances of that in LFR, which I'll be showing you shortly. I really like Incarnation because there's times when it's just getting too much for a healer. That happens to us all, as it just feels like we're falling behind, and Incarnation is just that boom that we need to pick ourselves up and carry on. Again, it's down to your choice. The level 75 talents again are situational at best. Pick whatever the hell you desire. They're all equally useless from a straight up healing perspective, so just pick whatever you fancy. Mighty Bash, usable in all shapeshift forms. He's handy for 5-man heroics. That's why I'm rolling with it. Just the fact that I can just stun people whenever the hell I feel like it is pretty cool. Ursol's Vortex. I tend not to want to be part of the CC team while I'm in a 5-man. I don't like that. Disorientating Raw. Disorient all enemies within 10 yards for 2 seconds. Any damage caused will remove this effect. Sure, it's a great little interrupt. That instantly breaks, which is handy, but I tend not to be doing that on my healer. I like the fact that I can stun things. I just like to be able to stun things that are maybe the more dangerous mobs in a pack, and the tank isn't aware of it, and he's just letting this mob rape him. I like to be able to bash that out. Our level 90 talents are a little bit underwhelming. Heart of the Wild comes with some nice passives, which is increased stamina, agility, and intellect by 6%. So we get 6% extra spell power. This could pull ahead in the future with overall healing. I can certainly see there being an argument for this pulling ahead. I really like this. So if you get some benefits as well, such as while in bear form, agility, XP, hit, and armor bonuses are increased. These are all kind of useless to what we're doing. Non-balance is generally what people look at. Is spell damage and hit chances increased. Mana cost of all damage spells reduced by 100%. So if we are in a situation where we need to DPS, there's a definite argument there for Heart of the Wild coming and rocking and rolling. We get free DPS caster spells, which is cool. Dream of Cenarius is generally the bastard child of anything interesting. He's pretty damn useless overall, I think, especially for a healer straight up. It's more, again, a DPS twist. I prefer the fact that DPS would be free over the fact that this is just giving me a boost to that damage. Wrath, Starfire, Star Surge, and melee abilities increase healing done. So if you are doing some DPS, then it's going to buff your healing. It's only your next healing spell by 30%. Tranquility doesn't get affected, so you can't set up a huge Tranquility bomb or anything like that. That's not going to happen. Nourish, Healing Touch, and Regrowth, which we will be casting. Increase the damage done by your next 2 Moonfire or Sunfire casts by 50%, and your next 2 melee abilities by 25%. Boring! Boring as crap. Dream of Cenarius, I think, needs a rework. In my opinion, The one that everybody seems to rock and roll with, and with good reason, is Nature's Vigil. Another 3-minute cooldown that we can have either with Incarnation or you can have it separate. I like to use them separately. Increase all damage and healing done by 20%. That's what all we really want. Is we want that healing done by 20%. While active, all single target healing spells also damage a nearby enemy target for 25% of that healing done. Something to bear in mind is you're going to contribute passively to the DPS, but it's essentially an extra healing cooldown, and that's what we're really after, is a big healing cooldown. So we've got Incarnation and we've got Nature's Vigil, giving us this massive bonus to healing, and we can intersperse those, so every minute and a half we have some sort of healing cooldown, which is really handy. Let's talk about Glyphage. Glyphage. Wild Growth. Wild Growth Glyph is pretty awesome if you're starting to do your raids and getting into looking for raid and you're getting past this 5-man heroic area, which most people should be by now, really. You should be getting past your 5-man heroics. They're very, very easy. They're essentially normal modes from previous expansions. Wild Growth can affect one additional target, but its cooldown is increased by 2 seconds. Well worth it, especially in a raid environment. Very well worth it. This is your mandatory glyph. Okay, this is the glyph that you have to be taking realistically. Casting Life Bloom on a new target grants the target as many applications as the old target had. This effect will not occur while in tree form. Note that. Or when Life Bloom has less than 2 seconds remaining. I assume that's some sort of server-side error that they can't pick up the full stacks, etc. while it's just about to expire. Whatever the case may be, we can now stack up the 3 Life Blooms as normal, which we would do to keep the tank nice and happy, always keeping our life blooms rocking. But most Mr. Pandaria bosses do involve some sort of target switching going on, in which case we're going to be swapping those instantly. Just one life bloom class will transfer all 3 stacks. It is pretty much your mandatory glyph, guys. You need to be picking this one up. Glyph of Healing Touch. When you're casting the touch, the cooldown on your Swiftmen is reduced by 1 second. We saw that earlier on the specializations there on the Swiftmen. It's awesome. Swiftmen, again, is super cheap. Nice big heal and heals people around you. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win situation, okay? I really, really recommend these glyphs. I think you're going to roll really nicely in your early raids using this combination of glyphs. This little trio right here is going to keep you very, very happy. I think so, anyway. If not, just turn into a stag and AFK, which will be pretty awesome. I just need to do something super quickly, as I am absolutely garbage. I know I've unbound toggle my character paint, so I just want to bring that up really quickly. That's targeting, interface panel, toggle character, there, see it's not bound. Let's put that to there. Okay, reforging. What are we doing with our reforging? It's very, very easy, okay? It's very, very pretty simple. You're going to be looking for a haste. You want to get your haste so you start getting your soft caps. I'm going to list the soft caps in the back so you can just read those and come back and reference those at any point. Your worst stat overall is crit. Crit is garbage. You can see the early gemming here is definitely looking for more intellect and overall more spirit. We're in an early stage where spirit is key. Spirit is so key at the moment. I recommend you get as much spirit as possible, but be a little bit careful with reforging to it. You still want to have good haste to get to your soft caps, and you want to have your mastery, okay, your harmony. We're going to be talking about that shortly. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit of a rotation exercise. Get your haste to your soft caps, which means you get your extra ticks on your life blooms and your rejuves, and then get as much mastery as possible. So you can see if you've got a Ghost Iron Dragonling, you want to get Spirit, Haste and Mastery on that. You want to get rid of as much crit as possible. So we've got our Haste caps, and once we reach our soft caps, you can see we're going for more Mastery. We're happy with where we're at. If you've got any crit on your items, such as these, crit to Haste, all balances out nice and tidy, but get as much Haste and as much Mastery as you feel comfortable with. Don't worry about reforging to Spirit. You should have all Spirit gear anyway, as I do on this one. But if you don't, then simply reforge a little bit of Spirit if you're feeling you need it. Other than that, aim for Spirit in every single socket, and therefore just reforge and rebalance your Haste and Mastery as appropriate. Let's talk about Mastery. Mastery hasn't changed too much, but what we do have is the Harmony buff, okay? Mastery Harmony. Increase the direct healing, the healing of your direct heals by 70%, and casting your direct healing spells grants you an additional 70% bonus to periodic healing, which is your HOTS, okay? Very important. So let's pretend I was the tank, so I'll target myself there. I've got my 3 life blooms ticking. I've got a rejuve on. Rejuve is super cheap, by the way. Make sure you're keeping your rejuve rocking and rolling. And I'm using, say, Nourish, just to top the tank off. Oh, what's this, Preacher? That is my Harmony. Now my HOTS have just been super buffed by an extra 17%, simply because I've casted that direct heal. If I catch another Nourish, You can see it refreshes there. I recommend you get some way of accurately tracking that your harmony is up. It will come pretty naturally after a while, but harmony is super important. It really is. It's just a passive, huge bonus to your healing. I use tell me when for this, so if I'll just show you this quickly. I've just set up this tell me when icon for a buff, debuff. I've enabled it. I've selected harmony, and I've just put the show timer on it, okay? Show timer. You can have the timer text if you want specific numbers or anything you want, but very easy. Very, very easy. Buff, harmony, on the player. I've activated the show timer and make sure it's enabled. And that's all you need to do for your harmony, okay? That is really all you need to do. And it just keeps it nice and tidy on what you're doing with your hearts. You just make sure that you're tracking it as well, okay? Very, very cool. What spells are we going to be casting, Preacher? Let's get into the rotation side of things, I suppose. It's very difficult for me to talk about rotation. Obviously, when it comes to your tanks, you want to be keeping your 3 life blooms ticking. Now, you don't want to refresh those by casting life bloom. You want to use your direct heal. So you can see Nourish refreshes it, Healing Touch will refresh it, and of course Regrowth will refresh it. Now what I'm hoping for is a clear cast. If the game will be so kind as to give me a clear cast, I'll wait for that to happen. Just keep those life blooms ticking. Clear cast is your Omen of Clarity. You have a 4% chance when your life bloom ticks to get a clear cast proc. This is the randomness that comes with the Resto Druid. The clear cast makes one of your heals free. So there we go, we've got our clear cast. This is your clear cast notification. What do we do with it? You've got a couple of choices. You can either do a regrowth, or you can do a Healing Touch. In most situations, Healing Touch is going to be the winner. It's your big, big heal. So if you're healing the tank specifically, you're going to get huge amounts of healing for free. Healing Touch, remember, is our long cast oosh heal. It's the big, big heal that we wait for. Nourish, of course, is our slow, very, very cheap healing, because it costs us basically nothing. And Regrowth is our fast emergency heal that really costs us money. See, a few regrowths, my mana really starts going down. And we've got Healing Touch, slightly longer cast, heals for a chunky amount. That's where you generally want to be using your clear cast, is on the Healing Touch. However, there's often times when you get your clear cast proc and there's just nobody really to heal at that moment in time. You just don't need that huge Healing Touch. It's just a complete waste. In which case, you're going to rock and roll with Regrowth. If you're in a situation with tons of AoE healing that's really affecting the raid more than anything, then Regrowth is going to be the winner as well. Just casting a very fast, nice heal on those raid members that are taking damage and giving them a little hop that'll last over time. So there we go. Another clear cast proc. I'll just fire off that Regrowth. You see, it cost me absolutely nothing. Absolutely awesome. Okay, so keep a track of that. I like the Blizzard upfront unit frame. I think it's pretty cool. The last thing I want to talk about is grid. I've done an add-on guide for grid. Now, what I want to talk about is center icons, okay? Center icons are very important with grid. They really just show you what's going on in your raid at a certain time. All I do for my Resto Druid is I add the center icon to be buff rejuvenation. That's it. Indicators here, center icon, and I like to see my rejuvenation. I don't want to be spamming rejuve on people who just don't need it yet. I just want to see how many people have rejuve up and all that kind of stuff. Be a little bit careful if you play other healers. It's all sorts of crazy other stuff can happen. If you're used to having some sort of scary debuff, like this guy needs dispelling immediately, debuff types, curse, diseases, magics, and poisons here, maybe don't use rejuve here, maybe put it on a top left corner or a bottom right corner, and it will just be a nice little icon. But again, I'll show you more of that in the raid environment, alright, ballers? So we're going to jump into a raid now, and I'll show you exactly what's going on. You take it easy, heroes.